just points apart in their battle for the 1978 USAC Championship. They met in the 120-mile event at Brands Hatch, England. So let's go to Ken Squire, who was there.
We are in Kent, England, a land where for centuries fortresses like Leeds Castle have given dimension and meaning to the words invasion and siege. Again this day, the hedgerows and meadows near Leeds Castle are resounding to the din as in the days of William the Conqueror of warfare. The rallying cry the reverse of America in 1776. Not the redcoats are coming. Today, it's the Yankees are coming. More specifically, the battle proclamations read, the Indianapolis cars are coming to England. Indeed, they are here. The United States Auto Club's greatest combatants, the Indianapolis Championship Car Racers, are at Brands Hatch, England for the first time. On the pole, the Triple Crown winner of 1978, Al Unser. Flanking in 1976, Rookie of the Year, Rick Mears. Starting third, the Flying Hawaiian, Danny and Geitz. Next, starting fourth, Gordon Johncock, former Indy winner. Starting fifth, defending and current #1 driver in USAC, Tom Sneva. And starting sixth, two-time Indy winner, Bobby Unser. And the man whose name spells racing worldwide, A.J. Boyd in ninth position. Hello, I'm Ken Squire. With me today, Dan Gurney, and we're looking forward to a great race on a 1 2/10 mile course here in England, where the World Championship Racing was held earlier this year. Covering the pits for today's races, Barry Gill. Let's go there now.
We've waited about 13 years to welcome the USAC cars to Britain, ever since first Jim Clark and then Graham Hill won a strange American ritual called Indianapolis. At the time, we wondered what all the fuss was about, and then the Americans sent us a missionary, Mario Andretti, to preach the gospel of 900 horsepower cars and giants like A.J. Foyt. And now they're here. Well, what do we think of them first time round? Well, the cars aren't so different from Grand Prix cars, but the drivers, that's another story. They're competitive without being cutthroat. They're professional without being temperamental. But above all, they're nice, they're friendly, they're entertainers. My word, our Grand Prix drivers are going to have to look to their manners when they return to Europe.
Thank you, Barry. An interesting and certainly an appreciated perspective on behalf of the American drivers over here. Dan Gurney, who drove his last Formula One championship race on this very Brands Hatch course, is our expert commentator. Daniel, tell us a little bit about this course.
Well, the gap at the bottom of the diagram represents the start-finish line, and from there it's uphill to Paddock Bend, which is a right-hander leading downhill to a roller coaster-like pullout where you reach about 130 miles an hour before going uphill to Druid's Hairpin, where the slow speed is down to about 40 miles per hour. From there, again, it's downhill to the Graham Hill Bend, which is the left-hand turn leading out onto the bottom straight, then a quick left-right leading back out onto Clearways, which returns us to the start-finish straight where the top speed is approximately 170 miles an hour.
It's a 1 2/10 mile course. 100 laps will mark the distance today for the event. There you see Al Unser, who broke all records in qualifying by some 2 seconds here, what they call the short course. We asked earlier Wally Dallenbach his thoughts about this course.
I like the course very much, but with our race cars here, it's kind of like it's like having a bull in a china closet, you know. They're big cars, and it's a tight race course, but it's excellent for the spectators, and we have a nice day, so I think we can put a good show on for them.
The grid for today has 15 cars. Al Unser on the pole, the man who won the Triple Crown this year. Rick Mears right beside him, that sensational young driver from out in Ventura, California. Then in the next row, it's Ungaius and Johncock. Row 3 will be Tommy Sneva and Bobby Unser. Going to row 4 is Rutherford and Tom Bagley, doing very well. Bagley qualifying in row 4. Row 5 is AJ and Spike Gilhausen. Row 6 is Dick Simon and Wally Dallenbach. One driver did not make it to the practice round this morning. Krisaloff crashed hard in the Patrick Wildcat car. George Snyder starting last. There you see Al Unser, whose car is on the pole, and we're underway. Going into turn number 1, Unser. Al Unser is in trouble. His car is slowing down. He hardly made 600 feet before something went awry with the automobile coming to the Druridge corner. Out in front is Mears. No, it is Johncock going in front. Rick Mears on the outside. inside, sweeping through, taking the lead is Danny Ungaius. Down Graham Hill, through Graham Hill Bend, and there you see number 2 Al Unser out of it. Al Unser retiring in a very short distance, Dan.
Oh, you know how disappointed he is. Fastest qualifier and everything, and there it is, the end already.
Danny Ungaius, the super sleek car number 25, the Ted Fields Interscope entrant, seeking his 6th win of the year, 7th career victory. He's had a lot of road racing experience. He's certainly showing it here in the early going.
Danny is a super crowd pleaser here in England. I just want to say that so-called bottom straight is really not straight for these cars. They can hardly hold their foot down all the way up that straight because the car wants to spin even though it's supposedly going straight.
Ungaius out in front. Here he's reaching 170 miles per hour in the brakes. And look at that car start and dodge as he slows it down, Dan.
Oh, that is really hard to do, and Danny he's showing his excellence here.
And he's pulling away from the field. Look at him draw away from Rick Mears running in second. Bobby Unser has moved into third. John Cock is in fourth. That's Bagley in fifth. Tom Sneva now runs in sixth. Field coming down Graham Hill one more time. In the early going, it is all at number 25 of Dallenbach. Oh, we have a spin. We have a spin out here as Ungaius. Look at his big lead. It's not the second place. It's Bagley's. Number 22 has spun as he started up into that second sort of hairpin corner. Tom Bagley, and apparently he must have tagged the car of Tom Sneva. Bagley is still running, but the wrong way.
Sneva is getting back out on the track underway again.
Bagley trying to get started, but it's wrong way Bagley here, and we see a yellow flag for the first time at Brands Hatch. In an unusual circumstance, a pace car coming on the track for a yellow flag. They've never seen that here before. They don't use a pace car regularly. The leader continues to be Danny Ungaius in the USAC Invasion of Brands Hatch. After a short caution period, we are back under green at Brands Hatch, England, with Danny Ungaius covering himself in glory, trying to pull away from the field. Rick Mears running in second place down through Graham Hill.
You can see the effect the caution flag had on Danny's big lead. He has all that work to do over again.
Here he comes, performing as he did in Formula 5000 3 years ago, where he proved himself a road racer to the surprise of everyone after his experience just in the drag racing world. Pulling away by 20 car lengths here in just about a lap. In the pits, the first major retiree from the race. Let's go to Barry Gill, standing by with Triple Crown winner Al Unser.
Al Unser, a very short drive at Brands Hatch for the first time with the USAC cars. What happened?
Must have broke the clutch, something. As soon as I shifted in gear, it just exploded. I don't know what went wrong.
You think this is because of the toughness of this particular track,
No, it is something that happens once in a while. I don't think it has anything to do with the tightness of the course at all.
Al, what does this do to the championship?
It all depends where Sneva finishes, and that'll clinch that. It all depends what he does today now.
Sneva is running back in 7th, battling 6th place Johnny Rutherford right here in the Druids hairpin. Sneva would have to win the race today to sew up the national title or go to Phoenix, Arizona next Saturday live on CBS. You'll see that race. Here's Sneva getting down beneath Johnny Rutherford. Has the spot. Tom Sneva, car number 1 of the Penske PC6 automobiles, has appropriated 6th position away from Johnny Rutherford. Leader Ungaius.
Ken, you realize the car in front normally has the best line through the curves and the entry to the straight, the exit to the straight. And in fact, in order for Danny to pass these cars in traffic, he must run on the wrong part of the racetrack, and this is very difficult with an 800 horsepower car.
And on this 1.2-mile course, you're almost always in traffic. Whoa, we have an engine blowing. That is Bobby Unser dismantling an engine on the Dan Gurney Eagle.
Oh.
Or perhaps a clutch, but anyway, that car is in big trouble. You saw a plume of smoke.
We know that smoke is bad news.
Bobby Unser in trouble, slowing down. A.J. Foyt almost runs over him, and he just passed Rutherford. Rutherford takes the position back as A.J. almost drop-kicked the slowing Bobby Unser. Rick Mears is running in 2nd position and looking very strong now. Rick Mears, what's the secret to this track? What's going to win it out here?
I think the big thing here is going to be getting to the end of the race and staying out of trouble. It's going to be so tight with traffic and trying to get by people that it's going to be very easy to get in trouble. And I think that's going to be our main concern, is trying to keep our nose clean and get to the end of it.
He's kept his nose clean all season long. He's come up with some great victories. He's trying to do it again today, but he has to stop Danny Ungaius, who seems almost unstoppable. Watch Ungaius. He's into lap cars here. The yellow car just in front of him is Dallenbach. Knocks him off as he comes down through the roller coaster. Goes to work on Salt Walther in the Druids, car number 77, Walther. And remember, Walther and these back markers are trying just as hard for position as is Ungaius in the lead.
Ken, you have to realize that the car in front, the one that's being passed, has the right to the best part of the track. So in effect, in order to pass, you have to drive on the wrong part of the track. That makes it doubly difficult.
But Ungaius continues to sweep around traffic with the tremendous power of that Cosworth working so beautifully. In this Interscope racing car, here he is putting a lap on Dick Simon, pulling away, continuing to build his lead. Trouble in the pits. Let's go to Barry Gill.
John Gogg in the pits, not for a fuel stop. The engine cut off. Obviously something very wrong at the back. If you wanted to know the reason that Gordon Johncock retired, there it is. Completely broken.
There's a good close-up of a broken exhaust manifold. That means the engine may be okay, but there's no turbocharger boost and very little power.
Cuts out about 500 horsepower without that. And there you see one of the Gilmore cars being driven by Snyder, being lapped by Danny Ungaius as he puts the muzzle of Black Beauty out in front and continues to lead at Brands Hatch.
120-mile USAC event, Danny Ungaius was in the lead, so let's return to Ken Squire, who was in Brands Hatch, England for the race.
From Brands Hatch, England, with Dan Gurney and Barry Gill, I'm Ken Squire, watching Danny Ungaius in a flawless performance thus far of United States Auto Club Racing in its first challenge on British sod. Here he is in the Interscope Ted Field automobile by half a lap in front.
Ken, even though Danny's been leading most of the day, he's still been in very heavy traffic, very difficult traffic.
Let's see a replay of the start. As they came to the Druids hairpin, one of the tightest parts of the course, number 20, Johncock in front, Mears in second. The inside opens up, the interloper dives down through Ungaius, and he absconds with first position in that one move, and he has not been headed since. Back to the race. Here's Ungaius with a big advantage over the second place runner, Rick Mears.
Danny trying to work his way through traffic. He's faced with many problems, but part of it is that the people that he's trying to overtake are just as busy as he is, and he's not sure that they realize he's behind and trying to overtake him. It leads to some very crucial judgment calls. Very dangerous part of the racing business.
Here's Rick Mears, number 7, in his own kind of problem. He has 3 cars in front of him. Foyt, Rutherford, Dick Simon trying to move through traffic. He's getting under Simon, but there you see just what Dan was talking about as they come back to the Druids hairpin. And in the pits, getting ready to come back on the track, Gordon Johncock. Remember, he came in earlier with a broken manifold. Here he is rolling back out and getting back into competition, the former Indianapolis champion, whose campaign started back in 1955. Johncock is back on his way. Watching Gordon Johncock get back into the event. Danny Ungaius continuing to lead. Danny, is there one part of this track that's more difficult than another for a driver out here today?
Not really. Maybe the slow corners a bit more than anything else, but I think the day's going to turn out well.
It certainly turned out pretty well thus far. Here he is moving in on Sneva, who is running third. Sneva just in front in the team car to Rick Mears, one of the Penske PC6 automobiles. Down they come toward the start-finish line area to complete another lap. It is Tom Sneva, defending national champion in first, and look at Ungaius, just getting down the inside and blowing him off and nearly taking him off in that corner.
He didn't leave him much room there, Ken. That was very close. Mears
is pitted. He's coming back on the track. We're getting into a period of pit stops in the event. Rick Mears pitting his car. He is still in second position. Here is Mears maintaining second spot. Ungaius well out in front. He goes or he breaks. That has been the history of his performances all season long. Danny Ungaius, you see him there. A rookie of the year, in USAC Championship racing a year ago, putting still another lap on Dick Simon. He's picking him up all over the racetrack. Simon's been in and out of the pits all day. Here's A.J. Foyt making his pit stop in the Gilmore car. And he's coming back out. A.J. won at Silverstone in the first performance for the USAC cars over here in England in the wet for most of the day. He is further down today. He's running in 5th position currently. Once again, Angaius moving into left, Salt Walther, and now you see this group who looks like moon men coming out here at a space filling station. They're preparing for the leader, Danny Angaius, to pit. And here he is, coming into the pits. Let's go down to Barry Gill.
And we're starting a stopwatch now, and straight in with the heavy pressure hose there. 6 seconds, 7 seconds, 8 seconds. Not a problem with the car. No need for a spare tyre. Angaius 25 seconds in the lead. And
marvelous pit stop by the Ted Field crew, and here is Angaius. Back, he didn't even lose the lead, Dan.
Back into the action. That 40 gallons should be enough to go the distance.
Full tank of fuel on Danny Angaius' number 25, trying to lap A.J. Foyt as they move back to the Druids hairpin. Tom Sneva, who sat on the pole at the Indianapolis Oval, attacking this road course today. What do you try to do on a road course, Tom Sneva?
It's a lot more competitive for the driver. You have many corners. You can't put them all together in any one lap. You might put 6 or 7 of them together one lap, and then your challenge is to put 8 or 9 of them together next lap.
Angaius is putting them all together flawlessly, but he's exciting to watch on every turn. Look at that car up here as it moves back in the straightaway, Daniel.
Ken, you can also see in this shot a very good shot of the wing angle. They're running a lot of wing, looking for a lot of downforce on this low average speed circuit. They're trying to keep those wheels from spinning. And
he is lapping Rick Mears. He is putting Mears a lap down. He's in a lap unto himself now as he comes back up into that hairpin. Danny Angaius just flying around this course. Here he is, moving back down the hill about, what, 100 miles an hour there?
I'd say about 120, and I think you're absolutely right. He's in a class by himself today, Tim.
Angaius, who won earlier this year on the road course at Mosport in Canada, was off to a pretty good start last time out at Silverstone in a road course, then got caught up with here today. He is just charging. 1,500 pounds of race car dashing down in front of this crowd, moving back up into the hairpin still another time. Danny Angaius in the car they call Black Beauty. Angaius thrashing the car around the hairpin. Looked like he almost lost it that time, Dan Gurney. We're going to get a chance to see it in replay.
Ken, this is typical of Danny Angaius, and it's why the crowds love him. They love to watch him race this way. Even though he has a good lead, he's still trying very hard. He has those hair-trigger drag race reactions, and he keeps them busy.
Sure does. Looks like he's going to keep it busy right out in the weeds there for a while. Earlier, Barry Gill did a little investigative reporting on the reaction of the British racing enthusiasts to these American competitors.
Oh, that's the one thing. They're a dream. There's no doubt about it. I mean, you have your Nicky Lauders and your Jody Schecters rushing off in their helicopters or going into their hostility tents and, you know, here, I mean, they're ready to talk to you.
Well, the busiest people in the pits are these ladies who've been feeding the American drivers. How have you found them?
Fast, noisy, but really great.
That's the cars, not the drivers. What about the drivers?
Fantastic. I like their legs.
That's where a lot of the racing drivers in Formula One and Formula 2 come from really rich families and wealthy backgrounds. A lot of these guys don't. They just come from the back streets of New York. A couple of them are ex-taxi drivers, and they just virtually like me and them together, like, you know.
Dan, how many of you guys drove taxi cabs back in New York?
Well, I can remember a few rides where I had to have my eyes closed. I know that.
Here's Danny Angaius, eyes wide open, looking very good as he makes a move on Wally Dallenbach as he continues to try and win on this road course at Brands Hatch, England in United States Auto Club Championship Car Racing. Moving toward the conclusion, Angaius is well out in front. Sensational laps are being turned in faster than ever before in the history of this 1 2/10 mile course. Angaius, number 1. Rick Mears is second. Tommy Sneva riding third at Brands Hatch, England. The waning moments at Brands Hatch, England. Danny Ungaius in a lap unto himself and pretty much in a class by himself here today in this invasion by the United States Auto Club of English racing courses. First at Silverstone, AJ winning, and now here at Brands Hatch, England, it's Danny Ungaius Day, and the time running out very much looks like Ungaius' race.
Ken, I don't think any of the USAC drivers have come to grip with an Indy car on a road circuit like this in the manner that Danny has. He has really stood up and just battled that car all day and done a fabulous job.
And all season, too. It's been a go-or-blow situation for him. Having won 5, this would be his 6th. Now, here's Rick Mears running a very consistent second place. Arizona, New Mexico, California racer in the desert and turned to championship cars and made the adjustment so beautifully. Here is Sneva running 3rd. He would have to win this race to sew up the national title. Doesn't look like it's going to happen. Looks for sure like next Saturday, live on CBS, you'll see him battle Al Unser for the national title. Sneva, currently 3rd place. And the leader, Danny Ungaius, has broken down. He is pulled off just beyond the pits. Let's go to the pits and see if Barry Gill can give us a report.
And the applause you hear from this pit is perhaps not sporting, but understandable. Because that's Danny Ungaius, who's just blown up as he came past the pit straight. Look at the crowd applauding Danny Ungaius there. A sporting British crowd appreciating that this man, who wants to make it as a Grand Prix driver, showed he had it as a USAC driver. His race ended, but certainly he's been the man of the day in this, the first ever USAC race at Brands Hatch.
So Danny Ungaius will not win here on the road course at Brands Hatch today, his 6th win of the season, and Rick Mears has inherited the 1st position. Here is Mears seeking his 3rd win of the year. Tom Sneva in the number 1 car, the sister car to number 7, is running in 2nd place. And should trouble befall Mears, Sneva would win the national title here today, Dan.
Ken, I think back to Rick's earlier comments. He said that the important thing was going to be finishing this race, although I know he didn't have Danny Ungaius in mind at that moment.
There's the 3rd place car and the 4th place car. The number 4, the white car of Rutherford, is running in 3rd. And A.J. Foyt, he's a lap behind Rutherford, but if there's anyone in front of A.J. Foyt in that Gilmore car, he goes and wants to race them. That's just what we see here now as we're moving into the final part of the last lap for Rick Mears. The desert racer who looks so great jumping through the desert in Arizona, New Mexico, Southern California, is flowing like silk here in the last moments of this race. It looks like he's on his way to a road race victory at Brands Hatch, England. Checkered flags are about to fly. 26-year-old Rick Mears has won his 3rd USAC championship car race. Mears, the winner. Tom Sneva will get credit for 2nd place in the 2nd Penske car. Rutherford 3rd, A.J. Foyt 4th. Let's go to Barry Gill in the pits.
Congratulations on winning the first USAC race at Brands Hatch. What was it like?
It was tiring. This short course doesn't give you very much room to rest, and you just had to stay busy all day long. Danny was just running marvelous. You know, I don't believe there's any way we could have touched him, but fortunately we played the game the way we wanted to and tried to just keep a good even pace and hold everything together, and it paid off.
A victory smile from Mrs. Rick Mears. A wonderful crowd here at Brands Hatch, proving with their accolades their appreciation for Rick Mears of Phoenix, Arizona, winning in this first invasion by the United States Auto Club into the old mother country. Wonderful day, Dan.
I think we saw a future champion in Rick Mears. You can see he has that touch. He's not unruffled under this tremendous pressure. He adapted to a tremendously difficult circuit, and I'm very proud of Rick and all the other USAC drivers today.
Which is just about what was said 14 years ago about a young man from California named Dan Gurney when he came to Brands Hatch. For Dan Gurney and for Barry Gill at Brands Hatch, England, where Rick Mears is king today, I'm Ken Squire.